An emotional season. We faced some pretty big decisions. Buying Dominion scared me, but it looks like this purchase was worth it. The ground's been a lot better than expected. We set a 5,000-ounce goal, and we're able to up the ante.
Last season, Parker Schnabel hit a $12 million gold bonanza. This year, he wants to do even better. His eyes are on a 10,000-ounce prize, but that means his crew needs to dig and wash more dirt than ever before. The pressure is on from day one, with Parker making a gamble on some old gravel, hoping for a quick and easy start to a long, hard season. The Impossible Mountain. In the heart of the Klondike gold fields, where legends were born in 1896, a new story was unfolding. Just outside of Dawson City, a good 50-mile drive southeast, sits Parker Schnabel's massive 7,500-acre Dominion Creek claim.
You can set it on this higher shelf here.
Do you want to pull the suction up first?
I was kind of thinking just lift and just walk it back a little.
This piece of land is like a private island of opportunity, surrounded by miles of untamed Canadian wilderness. It's a place cut off from the easy world, a land with its own strange secrets. Old-timers whisper stories about a specific type of frozen earth here, permafrost laced with a silvery sheen nearly impossible to break through. But if you strike the rare blue-tinted clay beneath it, you might just be standing on a treasure trove unlike any other in the Yukon. Last season, this very ground had been incredibly kind. Parker had dug into a section called the Money Pit and pulled out a stunning $4.5 million bonanza, weighing in at over 12,000 ounces of pure gold. It was the kind of success that makes a miner famous. But for Parker, it wasn't enough. This year, his ambition was bigger, almost terrifyingly so.
We're in striking distance of 7,000 ounces, which is unbelievable. I want as much gold to go in our pockets as possible.
He was banking on following that same golden path, that rich streak of pay dirt, north into a new area called the Long Cut. This was the only ground his crew had managed to strip last year, preparing it for this season's main event. Parker's belief was unwavering. He was convinced that over $7 million in gold was waiting for them there. But to get it, he had to hit a target that sounded like science fiction, 10,000 ounces. To even have a chance, his crew needed to move mountains of rock and sand through their wash plant. They had to hit a weekly total of at least 430 ounces every single week for the next 6 months. It was a Herculean task, a pace that Parker and his small, dedicated crew had never even dreamed of attempting before. The air was thick with pressure. Parker himself admitted his expectations were unrealistic, a habit he seemed almost proud of. His crew felt it. They knew the season was different. They had never tried to process this much ground, and the boss wanted a perfectly seamless operation from start to finish. The primary goal was simple and brutal: sluicing. Non-stop sluicing was the only path forward.
I'm losing faith in you guys and trying to figure out another option at the moment.
So do you just want to do like set up a plant, or you want to do like the test trommel?
So are you sick of moving wash plants?
No.
Good. You don't have any time. Get sluicing.
The team was worried not about the work, but about getting through the sheer volume of land they needed to conquer. The weight of the season was already pressing down on them. And as they looked out at the vast, muddy landscape, they knew that every single minute counted, and their boss was watching the clock. The heat was on from the very first moment. Parker's grand plan for the Long Cut was the ultimate goal, but that was 1.5 miles upstream. Down here, closer to their camp, sat huge piles of gravel. These weren't just any piles of dirt. They were the leftovers from the previous owner's operations in the insanely lucrative Money Pit. They were the scraps from a rich man's table. Parker's mind was racing. Based on the incredible gold his team pulled from the Money Pit last year, he developed a powerful hunch. He believed there was still gold hiding in those old, forgotten mounds. This was a massive gamble. The future of the company and their shot at 10,000 ounces rested on the main ground in the long cut. Up there, Mitch was already hard at work, scraping away the worthless top layer of soil, the overburden trying to get down to the pay dirt below. Every scoop of his excavator was a step toward their $7 million dream. But Parker's new idea to sluice the old gravel piles was a huge detour. It would take time, equipment, and manpower away from the primary objective. It was a classic shortcut. If the piles were rich, they could get a fast, easy cleanup under their belts, banking cash and boosting morale right at the start.
It's a nice setup. I like the plan. I know there's always going to be a few quirks to work out, but I like it so far.
Well, she's gonna take some fine tuning, but it's washing rocks.
It would justify the enormous amount of money they had already spent over the last year on new equipment and preparations. But if the piles were barren, it would be a catastrophic waste of precious time they simply did not have. The crew was torn. The idea had merit. There was a chance for quick gold, but it pulled them away from the certain prize up north. With the price of gold soaring to historic highs, the temptation was almost too much to bear. It's only good to have high gold prices if you actually have gold to sell, and right now their gold pans were empty. The decision was made with a knot in everyone's stomach. They would move their biggest wash plant, the mighty Big Red, and point it directly at the gravel piles. They had placed their entire season's start on a bet, a wager on another man's trash. The only question left was whether it would turn out to be their treasure or just a colossal time-wasting mistake. Things started happening incredibly fast. The decision was made, and suddenly the entire camp was a whirlwind of activity. Tyson and Jack were tasked with the monstrous job of moving Big Red. This wasn't like moving a pickup truck. Big Red is a massive, sprawling machine of steel, a complex puzzle of conveyors, shakers, and sluice runs that has to be taken apart and put back together. The crew was now in a full-blown race against the clock, their primary mission in the long cut temporarily abandoned.
At the rate we're going, we're not really getting through ground very fast, so this will help. I'm hoping we can get it assembled and up in the pit by the end of the week.
Moving the giant wash plant was a slow, nerve-wracking process. Using heavy excavators, they gently lifted and nudged the huge sections of the plant into position. One wrong move, one slip of the controls, and a vital piece of equipment could be damaged, costing them days or even weeks in repairs. Every command was critical. Jack carefully maneuvered the feeder, the giant metal box that would swallow the pay dirt, bringing it home to connect with the main plant. The crew guided him with hand signals, their voices tight with concentration, yelling for him to stop just inches from the target. Finally, after hours of intense work, it was done. The steel beast was assembled. Big Red stood ready, its red paint a stark contrast to the brown and green of the Yukon landscape. It looked powerful, hungry for dirt. With the plan in place, there was a brief moment of relief. The physical challenge was over. The crew had pulled together and accomplished the difficult task with precision. But the real test was yet to come. They had spent all this time and energy setting up for this gamble. Now they had to see if it would pay off. The air was buzzing with a nervous energy, a mix of exhaustion and anticipation. The first bucket of dirt was about to be loaded, the first test of Parker's big hunch. Every eye was on the excavator as it swung toward the gravel pile, ready to feed the beast.
So there we go. We got Slucifer running, Tatiana's feeding. Latest we've ever started sluicing. We had a lot of gold to catch, and really the season starts today.
The whole crew held their breath. This was it. The official start of their season, and the first clue as to whether they had made a brilliant decision or a terrible one. The roar of false hope. "Here we go!" The words hung in the air, though no one really needed to say them. The first bucket of dirt for Big Red, the very first pay dirt of the season, swung through the air and tumbled into the feeder. The roar of the engine was followed by the clatter of rocks and the hiss of high-pressure water jets. Big Red was alive. The plant shuddered as it began its work, separating the worthless rock from the potentially valuable sand and, hopefully, the heavy gold. Parker was hoping this fast start would help him break his own records. He wanted to cash in on the highest gold prices ever seen and make a serious dent in his $25 million 10,000-ounce goal. As the plant ran, a sense of optimism began to spread. They were sluicing. Compared to the chaos of last year where they spent weeks moving the camp and the equipment yard, this felt like a victory. Everything was in one place, the setup had gone smoothly, and now they were washing dirt.
Is that the worst cleanup we've ever done?
Broke another record, you guys.
Worst cleanup ever.
For 34 straight hours, Big Red churned through the old gravel piles. Ton after ton of earth was washed over the sluice boxes where rubber mats were designed to trap any gold that might be hiding within. The crew worked in shifts, feeding the plant, monitoring the water levels, and making sure everything ran without a hitch. The constant hum of the machinery was the soundtrack to their hope. With every hour that passed, their confidence grew. Surely 34 hours of nonstop sluicing through ground that came from the legendary money pit had to produce something good. As the run came to an end, the plant was shut down, and a sudden silence fell over the claim. It was time for the cleanup. Chris, the crew's cleanout specialist, prepared to wash down the mats and collect the concentrates. This was the moment of truth. All the hard work of the past few days, all the stress of moving Big Red, and all of Parker's hopes for a flying start came down to what they would find in those mats. The golden concentrates were finally in. After hours of hard digging, nonstop shoveling, and 34 hours of back-breaking work, all they had to show for it sat in a tiny pile, a dense, glittering mound of super heavy black sand. This wasn't just dirt, it was what every gold miner dreams of. It was the stuff that could either prove their first gamble of the season was a genius move, or confirm that it was a total disaster.
No, it's a bit problematic, isn't it? Especially considering how far we have to go.
Everyone in the crew gathered around for the moment of truth. The final step was here, the weigh-in. Every breath in the room seemed to freeze as they dried the black sand and carefully poured it onto the digital scale. Nobody talked, nobody moved. Every pair of eyes locked onto the small screen of the scale, waiting for it to stop flickering, to give them the number that would decide everything. This wasn't just about gold. It was about time, trust, and whether the entire season was already slipping through their fingers. Then, the screen stopped blinking. 5.6. A long, heavy silence took over the room. No one could believe it. 5.6 ounces. That was it? After more than a full day of hauling pay dirt, burning through fuel, wearing themselves down to the bone, they had just over 5 ounces of gold. Just over $14,000. That might sound like a lot to someone on the outside, but to this crew, to a team fighting for a 10,000-ounce season, it was practically nothing. Pennies on the dollar. And in that moment, the truth hit like a punch to the stomach. All that effort, for what? No one said a word. Their eyes stayed fixed on the tiny pile of gold as if maybe it would suddenly grow or shine brighter.
Broke another record, you guys.
Worst cleanup ever.
Worst cleanup ever.
Nailed it.
One crew member tried to lighten the mood. "Well," he muttered, "guess we broke another record, the worst cleanup ever." But the joke didn't land. Not even close. It hit the floor like a dropped chunk of iron. No one laughed. No one even cracked a smile. The weight of failure filled the air. Parker, their young but tough leader, finally spoke. His voice was low, almost hollow. He apologized, not just because things went wrong, but because he had led them there. He had made the call to run Big Red in this spot. He had gambled their time, energy, and hopes on this patch of ground. And now that bet had come back to bite them hard. Now they knew the truth. The gamble hadn't just missed, it had completely tanked. This wasn't just a bad cleanup. It was a full-blown setback, one that could haunt them for weeks, maybe the whole season. They had wasted time. Time they could have spent at the long cut, the area they believed held real potential. Time they couldn't get back.
How far we have to go.
All that time that we spent setting up Big Red could have been spent elsewhere.
In gold mining, every hour counts. Every move matters. They were aiming for 10,000 ounces this season. That was their goal, their mission, their dream. But now? Now they were still 9,994.4 ounces away. That number didn't just look big, it looked impossible, like a mountain too high to even see the top of. Their first step had sent them sliding backward, and no one knew if they could recover. The air grew heavier. The crew didn't just feel tired, they felt defeated. How do you bounce back from something like that? How do you dig deeper when the ground has already taken so much from you? No one had the answers. If they wanted to turn this season around, they couldn't afford another mistake. There were no second chances in the Yukon, and the mountain ahead was only getting steeper. Was this catastrophic failure just a fluke or a dark omen for a cursed season ahead? Like this video and subscribe to see what happens next on Gold Rush.